Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here today as part of this insightful session and hosted by the Channel Marketing Association that Amy and Catherine have put together for us. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us as we dive into today's topic, which is measuring success, KPIs that matter. I want to emphasize how vital it is for us marketing professionals, yes, myself included, in the channel industry to effectively track our progress and really understand the metrics that drive our success. I recently transitioned into a marketing role while still drawing on my experience as a channel chief leader. I've seen firsthand how our approach and our impact, really does define our results. I'm really excited today to share insights with you all and hope we can collectively enhance our strategies for growth in our, industry. So in the next 25 minutes, we're going to delve into what KPIs or key performance indicators are, why they're essential for businesses, and how to choose and measure the right KPIs for your organization. So, as of course, there we go. So a little bit about myself. So I'm not going to get into all the things, but my background for the past 25 years, I've been in the software and telecom industry. And in that 25 years, actually it's been more than that, but we won't get into how old that is. But I've done both direct side and channel side. And the channel, I'd probably say almost about 10 years now, building channel teams, programs, marketing, enablement, operations, and of course, KPIs as they evolve the channel sales managers themselves. I have different types of award-winning achievements, all stated there. And I've done, like I said, multiple partnerships with different companies, all of which were even startups, 20-year startups, 10-year, and most recently, a less than 5-year startup. So that's just a little bit about myself. So what are KPIs? So there's 3 different things here that I kind of define it. It's that we're going to get into the definition of KPIs, the importance of the business performance itself, and the examples of some common KPIs. KPIs are really measurable values that demonstrate how effectively a company is achieving its key business objectives. It's a way to provide a way to quantify performances over time. Some examples could be anything from revenue growth, customer satisfaction scores, and even employee turnover rates. So a lot of people always ask, well, why KPIs and why do they matter? A lot of that is to drive strategic focus. It's to aid decision-making and enabling performance overall. So they help drive those strategic focuses by aligning individual and team goals with the overall business strategy. Second, they provide a basis for informed decision-making, enabling leaders to pivot when necessary. And I know a lot of us, we go through that and we have to pivot. And finally, KPIs enable the performance tracking. This allows organizations to evaluate their progress towards the goals and make the necessary adjustments as needed. These are just some examples of what KPIs are as opposed to metrics and what they do to kind of work together. Some types of KPIs. So we've got quantitative versus qualitative KPIs. We've got leading versus lagging. And then we've got high level versus low level. There are various types of those KPIs. Quantitative KPIs can be measured with numbers, while qualitative KPIs are more subjective. We can always distinguish between leading indicators, which predict either future performance, and lagging indicators, which will reflect past performance. So additionally, these high-level KPIs, they provide an overall view of organizational performance, whereas the low-level KPIs focus on departmental or operational aspects. And I kind of put just a little bit here on, some objectives. Let's say, for example, if someone wanted to increase sales, maybe the KPIs are to increase revenue, reduce cart abandonment, meaning increasing upsell, and then some measurements based on each one. Like let's say if they want to target a 20% increase, the way they're going to do it is based on the sales, the product category, things of that nature. Acquiring new customers could be an objective. Well, how are you going to do that? Let's see how you increase traffic, new customers, build an email list, and then you have a target. Again, everything has to have a metric placed to it because as we know, our leaders say, great, you want to increase sales, how are you going to do it? And every time we do this, we need to make sure there's a metric aligned with it as well. So choosing the right KPIs. I know, in sales, we're always trying to figure out how are we going to do the right one. And then specifically in our channel sales, how are we going to adjust that to make sure that we're also an extension of our partner's business? So aligning with business objectives can be one, specific and measurable. As I said, metrics are always something our leadership would like to see. And then determining the frequency of that measurement. So when selecting them, it's really critical to ensure that each of them align with the business objective. They should also be specific and measurable, like I said, which allows for clear tracking. And then lastly, considering how often you want to measure them to ensure that they remain relevant for decision making. And I kind of gave some examples below, like a sales revenue or customer lifetime value, and then as well as sales conversion rate. And then on the right, it's based on how to choose the right KPIs itself. There's different ways. It just depends on what you're trying to accomplish within, whether it's your marketing team, your channel sales team, even in a finance team or HR. There are always different KPIs measuring towards the overall company goal and objective. And here we go, right into the next slide that talks about the common KPIs in different sectors. So I kind of chose more of the high level, the marketing, the sales, the HR, and in this case, finance as well. Each one provides I guess, a metric, and each one has its own different type. Everyone has a different type. As we know in sales, it's always around MRR. How are we going to go ahead and gain that MRR? Or maybe a sales pipeline increase, marketing leads, whether they're qualified or MQLs. A lot of this has to do with the fact that as we're looking at some of these examples, each one is different. And then in marketing, a frequent KPI is customer, acquisition costs, which measures more around the cost to acquire a new customer. Sales teams, as I said, monthly recurring revenue, while HR may track employee engagement scores. We have NPS scores for customers. Well, what about internal as well? What are those scores? And then finally, in finance, it's the net profit margin is critical metric showing overall profitability. And so there are different types of KPIs that we have to be aware of and try to work around that as well. Now, how do we implement those KPIs effectively? There's different ways. I just did a more of a top three, communicating the purpose of the KPIs, as well as using data analytics, and then involving stakeholders in that process. So I've always seen that, to implement them, communication is vital. Ensure that everyone understands the purpose behind the KPI. We as salespeople can read it multiple times, but if it doesn't align to the end result, which is our target, it's going to be difficult to see how we're going to measure, or excuse me, how we're going to meet those KPIs. I also like in sales that we have a KPI, but we also have a revenue target. That way, as you're going towards that target, you're getting motivated to do some of those key performance indicators to help us gain to that revenue that we're going for. The other is involving stakeholders in the selection process. So that way it increases the buy-in. And then lastly, leveraging the data analytics tools to streamline the collection, analysis, and visualization of those KPIs data. There are challenges in KPI measurement, especially in our marketing industry. There's significant challenges, which is the three that I'm kind of listing here. Overwhelming data. Being, in sales and then moving to a marketing role. And I'm not moving particularly, I'm basically wearing that multiple hat. I'm at a startup, so I've got to be able to understand how am I going to make my sales targets and quickly, and I've got to be able to understand how I'm going to market this internally. So a lot of that is, too much data, misalignment with the goals, and potentially lack of ongoing review. So while those KPIs are useful, there are challenges that we also need to consider. And a lot of organizations can be overwhelmed by the sheer volume of data, leading to confusion. And then additionally, there can be misalignment between the selected KPIs and actual organizational goals. And it's also common for organizations to lack ongoing reviews, which can cause previously relevant KPIs to become obsolete. So we need to make sure that each of these buckets we are definitely working on and making sure that there isn't overwhelming data. We've got to make sure that the increased decision-making time and stress is not too much. So that way we can get those targets a lot closer than, like throwing up all the data. And these are just some examples that I put in there. So now, best practices for KPI measurement. Again, I did my threes. So regular review and update the KPIs. Focus on a few key indicators. You don't want to do 10 KPIs. 3 is usually the magic number, but I like to go with 4 just to kind of give that elevated motivation for the sales reps, in this case, in the sales industry, or excuse me, in the sales unit. So, putting these challenges or mitigating these challenges, you need to follow best practices. Like I said, number 1, regularly reviewing those viewing and updating those KPIs based on changing objectives. Focusing only on a few key indicators rather than overwhelming the teams with too many metrics. And then lastly, creating a visual dashboard to present KPI data clearly and effectively to the stakeholders. So to kind of conclude and recap what I kind of got into here is, we want to make sure that we have the importance and the KPIs are in the guiding business strategies. We have KPIs and they're an invaluable tool for measuring success. They drive strategic focus. They aid in decision making and allow for performance tracking. And then by aligning these KPIs with the business goals, choosing the right types and implementing the best practices, organizations really can harness the power of the KPIs to achieve remarkable status and in their efforts as well. So these are just the top 3. Like I said, everything I've done is kind of in the 3s, but I think these are the top 3 ways to kind of make sure that the KPIs are manageable, doable to get to that target of, in this case, sales goals and meeting and exceeding those targets. So I think this is about it. This is where I end, but thank you guys for joining me today in discussing the importance of the KPIs and how they can truly define the success in your efforts. I hope you found the information valuable and applicable as you navigate through your own strategies. I mean, I know it's a lot in our industry, especially when the industry is changing, but I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts and experiences or, any questions you guys have. So I'm going to open the floor for a discussion, and feel free to share some of your KPI stories that you guys have been working with, or even challenges you guys have faced. Your insights are invaluable, and I think together we can learn and grow from one another. Just, on just some of the information I kind of provided you guys, but I'm really open to hearing more. Maybe I missed something, maybe I didn't add what some of those challenges are that you guys are facing. So let's hear some more from you guys. Thanks.